would not have still gotten it. Look at this. That's beautiful.
Professor Akol is one of the very few entomologists in Uganda. An entomologist is a scientist who studies insects.
Sometimes I have observed that you buy passion fruits and they are kind of empty. The seeds have not fully formed. The first thing a viewer thinks about, or a person who picks up such a fruit will think the crop was young, but on the outside it looked mature. But with my insights as a scientist, for me it probably indicates what we call a pollination deficit, pollination which was not properly done.
While Professor Akol may be one of the few, if not the only entomologist in Uganda interested in interrogating the subject, pollination as a subject is increasingly becoming a global topic for discussion, particularly in the USA and China, where their pollination services have decreased substantially. In some parts of China, a lot of the insect pollinators have been lost to the extent that farmers now have to hand pollinate their trees. In the US, farmers have resorted to beekeeping, not for harvesting honey, but for renting out to other farmers, who then pay them to pollinate their plants. One such example is the hire of bees to pollinate almonds, a multi-billion-dollar industry in America.
Because of the way they have farmed and other activities, they have lost a significant part of their insect pollinators. It made me question whether the same processes, same decreases in pollination services could be taking place in Uganda.
1/3 of the food consumed in Uganda is produced through pollination.
We'll eat our starches, we'll eat our protein, but we also need our vitamins. Those vitamins come from fruits and vegetables, many of which need an insect pollinator to be produced. So myself and my colleagues from Kenya and Tanzania, because this was a regional project, we decided, since Kenya and Tanzania have a lot of information about pollination by bees, Uganda doesn't have that much information. They were more interested in looking at pollination by butterflies and moths. And I thought, okay, Uganda could also start that way and then look at pollination by bees much later.
Mabira Forest, which is said to be the only natural forest in central Uganda, has been protected as a forest reserve since 1932.
So we have been working in the farmlands around Mabira Forest and also on the forest margins. And already I can clearly state that the gardens surrounding Mabira Forest have fewer of these butterflies and moths compared to the forest areas.
For new plants to grow, new seeds have to be produced. To make seeds, plants must get pollen from a similar flower. But because plants cannot move, they need help to get pollen. This help is provided by an insect, which carries pollen from one flower to another. The insect therefore becomes the pollinator, and the process of carrying pollen from one flower to another is pollination. In appreciation of the pollen, flowers give insects a gift. This gift is called nectar. It is like a juice made by the flower to re-energize the insect as they assist in the production process. Given that after a flower gets pollen, it grows fruits and seeds that we consume as food, medicine, and oils, among other things. In spite of this free indispensable service that they provide, these natural pollinators are under threat and increasingly disappearing. Ironically, in some instances, due to bad farming practices, in whose interest it is to protect them.
In Uganda, one of the things that farmers do in managing pests is to spray insecticides. And because these pollinators are insects, they are usually even the first to die before the pests. If you keep pushing the pesticide story, herbicides, insecticides, chances are, yes, you kill off the pests, but you may also be killing off these beneficial insects. Pollinators are one of those beneficial insects. As a country whose economy is largely driven by agriculture, coffee, I think, is our number 2 forex earner after tourism. We need to start talking about the pollination story and go beyond talk to action.
Schools are, however, expected to play a more critical role in the pollination agenda than taking students to exhibitions.
For educational institutions at the lower level, primary and secondary schools, they do teach pollination as a topic in their biology classes. But based on my observations at the recent Ginger Agricultural Show, a lot of schools are probably not able to demonstrate what are these insect pollinators, to give practical examples and demonstrations to the students.
Studies put the world pollination value at $200 to $400 billion.
We do not want to get to a point where we start to miss this, because it will be difficult, if not impossible, to reverse.
There is need for a multi-sectoral intervention if the full value of pollination services is to be utilized.
It can be a collaborative effort so that our policies for improving agricultural production are actually environmentally friendly. They promote environmental health. I think our environmental agencies, the agricultural agencies, even the tourism wildlife agencies need to talk together to each other, as well as with the research scientists, to see how we realize the full value of this. We protect what we have and do other things to ensure we can expand it. Somebody may think, what does pollination have to do with tourism? We have a lot of people who come to Uganda to do bird watching. A lot of the birds feed on fruits and seeds. Many of our primates, the chimpanzees particularly, feed on fruits. Those fruits and seeds are the result of pollination.